Hello students, welcome to BTech 360. Now we're going to cover another state entrance examination. We covered the national examinations, we're going to cover the state entrance examinations. And now I'm going to cover one of the examinations which is conducted in south of India. Before I move further, the three things that I will tell you. If you want me to cover any exam, any college, please write to me in the message box and I'll be happy to cover that. If you want to talk to us personally, there is a message, WhatsApp number here. Message us on the WhatsApp number. One of our counselors will call you. And three, most importantly, please subscribe to BTech 360. Now coming back to the state entrance examination that we're talking about, we're going to cover an examination that is conducted by the state of Kerala, which is called the KEAM, Kerala Engineering, Architecture and Medicine Entrance Examination. Earlier medicine, in the earlier days, MBBS was conducted not through NEET but through the state entrance examinations, which is where the name KEAM stuck with the examination, but otherwise it includes pharmacy and allied sciences also possibly, and that's how but it's largely used by engineering aspirants to get admission into one of the Kerala state engineering institutions. Now KEAM essentially, and we'll talk of the kind of colleges that are there, we'll talk of the top colleges, the kind of placement that it offers, and what kind of cutoff would get you, what kind of score and cutoffs would get you in any admission into any of the branches in any of these colleges, which is what the entire objective would be, right? The total number of students that KEAM has, by the way, KEAM is, you must remember one thing, when you're getting admission into any of these colleges, it's 50% is from the KEAM examination, 50% is from the class 12 board. So you must very, very clearly understand that KEAM is not the go-to thing for everything, right? It has a very normal distribution of the class 12 board scores and the KEAM examination, and both of them are merged to arrive at a rank also, and that rank is what will get you into any of these colleges. That is something that you must very, very clearly remember. Right. The total students who registered for KEAM examination is 86,549. We are talking about the 2025 data, of which the total students who appeared is 76,230. And the number of colleges that accept the KEAM score is 159. Right. And the seats available is 52,000. So we're dealing with about 1:1.5 kind of a student ratio. But more importantly, for the branches and colleges of your choice, this will be limited, and that you must remember. Right. Now, what is we're talking of the top colleges, mind you, and the first college that you should be looking for very closely is the College of Engineering, Trivandrum. It is the most competitive college. It's the best college out there, which is where the pathway is through the KEAM examination. This was established in 1939. So it is essentially about 85, 86 years old, right? And that is what makes it, 87 years old rather, and that is what makes it so good, because when you actually have an institution which is so old, its faculty, its students would be spread all over, because there have been so many batches that passed out that they would have been employed somewhere, grown up the ladder, and would be sitting in very high positions. So any legacy institution that you have, please mark my words, that any legacy institution that you have, you are most likely to gain in terms of placements also, because these alumni which is sitting in different places and would have grown up the ladder and become top positions in those companies also, would come back to the alma mater to place students, to rather recruit students, and that is what happens here, right? So established in 1937, 87 years old, always works. It's a public institution. In Kerala, all the institutions, public and private, go through the KEAM examination. So there is nothing where the Kerala private colleges affiliated to the Kerala state are, they can actually recruit on their own, admits the students on their own. Everything has to be through a common counselling process. But if you're a private university, which is about off late they started, and there are few private universities that came in, there obviously they'll have their own admission process. But if you're an affiliated college, then KEAM is the only pathway for you to get into that. So this essentially is meant for Kerala students only. This campus size is 125 acres as far as College of Engineering Trivandrum is concerned. Number of students pursuing UG 4 years is 3,203, of which boys are 65% and girls are 35%. Outside the state is about 3.3%, and within the state is 94%, and 2.1% is outside the country. So NRI students come in and study here. The total faculty is 275, which means we're dealing with about 1:12, 1:13 kind of a faculty student ratio. Right. Now talking about placement, this is very important for all of you to understand. So let's talk about the faculty student ratio. The intake is 660, and all branches put together, the intake is 660. Admitted is 693, because there is also lateral recruitment that happens, because of which the recruitment, the total admitted students is 693, of which 623 graduated. So about 10% students did not even graduate. 693, 10% is about 69, which is 70. So 70 students didn't even graduate. Of the 623, 553 students were placed. And they claim that 57 students moved for higher studies. Now, for me, now, as I see it, every time when I see the students opting for higher studies, I have my red flags here because, for example, 2 years back, the number of students who were moving for higher studies was 15, and now it moved to 57. So, why did it move almost 4x times? Between that and this, almost 4 times is what the increase in students opting for higher studies. Is it because they could not place students, or is it because the students genuinely wanted to move for higher studies? That's a question, because we're talking about BTech, and typically students who are doing BTech, they don't move for something unless it's a compelling reason, especially in these kind of examinations where you go through the state quota, right? So when you actually have about more than 10% students moving for higher studies, or 4 times of what it was 4 years back, 2 years back rather, then it has a red flag for me, right? And because of 57 students moved for higher studies, the placement ratio is shown as 98%. But if you were to actually deal with it here only, 623 by 553, then the placement would be about 85%, 85, 88%, whatever it is, right? And the median salary is 6.95 lakh rupees, which is good because it's been growing year on year, it's been growing. Right. Now, what is it that you need to, by the way, how many students are placed across the board, if you notice it? Now, this is jumbled across because we took it from the college website. Obviously, this is not adding up to 600. If you just look at it, you actually have 690 students, but this is much more than 690 if you add up. But what they claim is 170 students were placed in EEE, 155 in mechanical, 126 in CSC, civil is 123, ECE is 113. Aeronautical is 64 and industrial is 60. So maybe a lateral and a combination of the earlier batches also they might be talking, but it's not adding up to 693 or 553 what we looked for, which is placement. Right. Now, what is it, in terms of competition, how difficult is it for you to get into this college? This is very important for you because obviously this is what tells you what are your chances of getting into this particular college. If it's of course a very good college, a legacy college which has been there for ages and will possibly in the state of Kerala, this is the best college out there. So for that, you need to be in, you remember, if you remember earlier, how many students appeared for the examination, if you think about it, it's about 76,000 students appeared for the examination, right? Now you come back to this in terms of what rank you need, and we're talking of open category rank, we're not talking of the category ranks here. The open category ranks, 571 is what gets you into this particular college for CSC. Now, when you look at that, 76,000 students appeared for the examination, 571 rank, so you're dealing with 99.2 percentile, 99.3 percentile rather. So that's the kind of competition that this institution has. If it's 840, we're dealing with 98.9 percentile for ECE. For ECE again, 1966 is the highest closing rank for general category. Electrical and earlier it was electronics, now it's electrical. And 1966 again, you go back to it, we're dealing with 97.5 percentile. So the competition is very intense out here, and even at mechanical at 3000 rank, 2974, we're dealing with about 96.2 percentile. So what we're looking at here is, if you look at it closely, between 96 and 99.5 is what you need to have to get into the College of Engineering in Trivandrum, which obviously means that it's the best college out there, and that's why it's so competitive that every student wants to go and study there. Right. Now, the next one we're talking about is Government Model College in Trikara, right? This was established in 1989. So essentially 37 years, again a very old institution. Right, it's a government institution spread over 14 acres, 2,478 students, 60% boys, 40% girls, and about 106 faculty. So essentially we're dealing with, the faculty student ratio is pretty odd here because we're dealing with about 24, 25 students per faculty. So obviously there seems to be some kind of a overload on the faculty here. Right. Now, if you look at the placement stats that they have, the intake is 420. We're talking of 23-24 data. 24-25 we still don't have it. And admitted is 501, including lateral, of which 494 graduated, 292 were placed, 20 moved for higher studies. So the placement percentage is 61%. Now this data seems to be very accurate because to claim 20 students move for higher studies out of a batch of 494 is okay, 5% people, right? And the median salary is 7.4 lakh. So in both terms, 61% placement and 7.4 lakh is the median salary that they're having, which means higher salary would be much, much more. So that's what it is. And the kind of placement that we see here, 142 in CSC, 87 in ECE, EEE is 33, and mechanical is 12. So it again corroborates with the kind of data that they've shown there. Right. Now, what is the merit that you need or score that you need? You at 1673 CSE close, which means we're dealing with 97.8 percentile. Right. BTech Electronics and Communication is 2613, which means we're dealing with at 70,000, 76,000 is what you remember, if you remember appeared. 96 percentile is what you need. BTech CSC Business Systems is 3,945, highest closing rank. We're talking of open category, highest closing rank. By the way, there is also a 50% normalization of the other one also, remember, and that's how the ranks come out. 3,945 945 is the one. BTech Electronic Engineering and VLSI Design is 5,845 rank. And BTech Electrical and Electronics Engineering is 6,226, highest closing rank. And open category, KEAM, along with the normalized data is what we're talking about. The third one is TKM College of Engineering in Kollam, established in 1958. So we're dealing with 78 years of life, right? It's a government institution spread over 25 acres, 3,477 students, 65% are boys, 35% are girls, right? And 19% are from within the state, and 211 faculty for 3,477. So 1:15 kind of a faculty-student ratio, right? What's the kind of placement data that you have? 70 students was the intake, of which, including lateral, 849 intake, 61 graduated. Now here there's a big catch here, because if you carefully notice, about close to 190 students did not even pass. About 189 students did not even pass. Now that is a big thing for me, because we're talking about 20 to 23% students did not even graduate from the college, which is a big question mark, right? Of the 661, 412 students were placed, and the opted for higher studies is 45, so 67% placement. But if you look at it from at a top-down level, from the 849, 412 were placed, which is less than 50% placement for me, and that too at a median salary of 4.2 lakh rupees, which is a falling. Last year it was 5 lakh and 87% placement. This year it's 4.2 lakh and 67% placement. So this institution seems to be going down and down. And that is something, it's a big red flag, but it still seems to be very competitive, because if you want to get into this college, by the way, placements across the branches, if you see, BTech CSE is 149, highest closing rank, open category KEAM, right? BTech Mechanical is 78 placed. So, sorry, these are placed students. BTech ECE is 41 students were placed. BTech EEE is 39 students placed. BTech Chemical Engineering is 25 students placed, and BTech Civil was 19 students placed, right? But the highest closing rank, when you look at it, CSE you needed 2,279. This is the highest closing rank last year for the KEAM, for getting into this particular college through KEAM. 3,268 for CSE with AI. BTech ECE is 3,102. BTech Electrical and Electrical and Computer Engineering is 4,272. And BTech Electrical and Electronics Engineering is 6,008. So essentially, even at 6,000 rank, if you see carefully, you need to be about 92 percentile to be a part of this particular college. Right. The next one is Athanasius College of Engineering in Kottamangalam. Established in 1961. So we're dealing with, again, quite a bit of about 66 years of service. It's a private college. Remember, through KEAM, all state colleges, all colleges, either public or private, will go through KEAM if they're a part of Kerala and affiliated to Kerala state, right? For one of the universities within Kerala. 25 acres of land, 2,744 students, 60% being boys, 40% being girls, and 19% are within the state. Faculty is 209 for 2,744, which means we're dealing with 1:14 kind of a student faculty ratio, or 1:13 rather, right? Now, if you look at the placements here, 600 students was the intake, 651 admitted including lateral, 514 graduated, 287 were placed. 18 opted for higher studies. The placement is 57.9%. But when you look at it, because you look at 651 and 541, you suddenly realize that about 140 students or 137 students did not even clear, which is about 20% of the students. If you look at it that way, at 287 by 651, the placement percentage is less than half. And the placement, median salary is 3.9 lakh, which is very low. But maybe for the state of Kerala, this works out very well. But that's where life is. What are the students placed? If you look at it, year on year, the total offers, core offers, and students placed. In 22, 447 students were placed. In 23, 357 were placed. In 24, 310 students were placed. And in 25, 320. So if you notice, there has been a falling ratio of the number of students who are getting placed. These from the college brochure itself, I'm taking it, right? Now, what is the highest closing rank that you need to get into this college? For BTech CSE, it is 3,182. For BTech ECE, it is 4,465. For BTech CSE with data science is 5,732. For BTech AI and machine learning is 7,550. And for BTech electrical and electronics is 8,926. So at 8,926 also you need 88 percentile to be a part of this particular college, and starts of course with about 3,182 is about 95 percentile or 96 percentile. So you need to be between 95 and 88 percentile to be a part of this particular college, right? If you want me to cover any other exam or college that's in greater depth, please write to me and I'll be happy to cover that. Please subscribe to BTech 360. And if you want to talk to us personally, there is a message, phone number here. Send us a message on the WhatsApp and one of our counselors will call you. Thank you so much. Namaste.